All right, well, thank you to Eboni for all that wonderful information, and please continue to submit questions as necessary, but I'll go ahead and get started from the New Mexico perspective around ELIs. And again, thank you to Eboni and Janice and their team for hosting this webinar for everybody. And you'll hear a lot of the same comments and questions, I think, coming from various states as we've all gone through this sort of together. So I hope to offer our perspective and our learning throughout this process. And I know we'll have time to answer some questions later on as well regarding the development of instruments and uses and things like that. So I'm here to share information on New Mexico's Early Childhood Observation Tool and how we created that system for our state to be culturally relevant for a few different purposes, as Eboni was speaking about before as well. So for our system, we're actually using it in preschool and in kindergarten, but notice you'll see the purpose for each of those programs varies slightly. For preschool, we're using the tool to gather information on what children know and can do at the time of preschool entry and document their growth over the preschool year or years, whether they're in a 3-year program or the 4Y program, and as they transition through those programs into the kindergarten year. For kindergarten, we have developed this instrument to gather information on what children know and can do at the time of kindergarten entry. And the main goal is to teach in data-driven instructional decision-making at the child and at the classroom level. So what we're hoping to see is as teachers are conducting their observations across multiple domains, they're gathering information that they can use to tailor their instruction or select curricula or tailor their curricula to meet the needs of their individual kids. We are also using this, that covers that 4th point there, but also using this with providing families information about their children's learning and development. So providing information on what children know and can do and be expected to do, like their like-minded peers and typical development. So we are excited to share the family teacher report with families throughout the preschool years and into kindergarten to document that growth if they have attended our New Mexico pre-K programs as well. And finally, this information for the first time under, and I'll talk about the funding and development, but this information is being gathered to share with education and care stakeholders as well to hopefully seek improvements across our state in access and equity as well as quality. So what can we learn through the observations that we're conducting as teachers are learning about their kids, but also as a state, can we identify trends that we could address with professional development or partnering resources and things like that. Here's just a screenshot. With our limited time, I don't have a lot of time to show you the entire system, but as kindergarten teachers log in, notice they can manage their own rosters, they can conduct an observation on a specific student, or actually observe a small group of children at the same time. They also have ways to track their progress throughout the administration period using the missing ratings box, and then are required to submit their final ratings and can access their reports through the various features of our online system. For pre-K, you'll notice the same buttons, but for pre-K we also include an opportunity for teachers to collect creativity samples and portfolio items, and there they document in a little bit of a deeper way with some anecdotal notes and contextual information what they're actually observing the child do. And for the creativity sample, it's important to note that they don't score that portion, but they capture documentation of student work and are able to share that with families. Our instrument is a series of rubrics developed off of our New Mexico Pre-K Early Learning Guidelines. And I've included here just a sample of what one of our indicators would look like. And this is what the teacher sees, not what the student is being shown. But the teacher uses this to guide their objective observations and to use the information included in the performance levels, as you can see there, ranging from first steps for 3s up through making progress for grade 1, to objectively measure where a student is in terms of their development on particular indicators. From the top moving down, you can see they're grouped into large areas of children development in the domains, and then become more specific through the outcome and indicator. Just below the indicator, you'll note we've made reference and connections for each of the indicators directly to the Common Core standards or our New Mexico standards, thinking of physical education or social studies, things like that, and made those connections for teachers using the instrument and tying it not only to our early learning guidelines in our early childhood system, but also the expectations through Common Core in kindergarten and first grade, making sure that we're bridging that gap between preschool and first grade. Our administration timelines are as follows, and I won't go into all of the details there, as I know the slides will be shared at a later point as well, but you can notice for our New Mexico Pre-K and Title I funded preschool programs, they administer 3 times throughout the year. The first period is the 30 instructional days from the first day of the child's attendance. The second period is the first Friday in February, to be completed by the first Friday in February, and then the end of year to be completed within the last 2 weeks of the child program. For all of our preschool programs, we aim to get information about the maximum amount of growth made throughout that year. So you'll note the end of year expectation is to gather those observations as close as they can to the end of that child's attendance in the program. Again, wanting to document the entire year of growth for those children. In in special education, you also have those 3 observation windows. The only one that's different there is the beginning of year program, and because of federal reporting requirements for the early childhood outcomes, or ECHO, teachers have 30 calendar days rather than instructional days to complete the observations for those students with special needs entering their programs. For kindergarten, we have 25 instructional days during our summer program to implement the instrument, as well as 30 instructional days for the regular school year. If they complete the observations during our summer program, they don't then again do it at the start of the regular school year. New Mexico is unique in the sense that we have implemented the ECOT across all of our New Mexico Pre-K programs, serving 3Y special education students as well as 4Y children, 4-year-old children there, and then all kindergarten classrooms across the state since 2016. In terms of reporting, there is immediate reporting available to all users, and then cascading level of access, meaning that a teacher can see all the reports for her own or his own classroom, but wouldn't be able to see the information from other classrooms. But a principal would be able to see all of the classrooms in their school site, and up through the district and state level as well. We offer reports on student summary and growth, as well as portfolio items, and then share family-teacher reports with families during conferences, as well as aggregate the data up through the classroom, school, district, and state level. I've included a sample here of what one of the portfolio items would look like, noting the information around the anecdotal notes, as well as the performance on those indicators, and then the opportunity to include some documentation or pictures to support their observations. Here we have a sample of what a family-teacher report looks like, noticing that by indicator we show them the score for their children, and then below it we note anything that is an accomplishment or they've met the mark on where we would hope they would be at that point of the year, and then some opportunities for things to work on, as well as notes and family input. And I know I'm running close on time here, but I just want to share quickly the development process under New Mexico Pre-K, taking our Race to the Top funding and building out what was already successful in our New Mexico Pre-K programs, and then building off of that through a period of refinement to the full implementation in fall 2016, and now continuing to refine and enhance the way that the pre-K data and kindergarten data are all collected in the ECOT system. So I don't want to take anybody else's time, so I will go ahead and stop there, but know that I will be on the line to answer any further questions as well. and then answer questions at the end of the webinar also. So thank you for my time here.
Thank you, Joe. For time, we're going to just move on to the next presentation, and I'm going to have Pennsylvania go next. And then at the end, after all three presentations, we will have a discussion and have time for question and answer. So Mary Anne Olley from the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania.
Yes, thank you, Ebony. And Joe, thanks for a great presentation, and also a big thank you to REL and the team for putting this webinar together today. So I will go ahead in the effort of time and get started. The Pennsylvania Department of Education's Office of Child Development and Early Learning, which you may hear me refer to as OCDEL throughout my time, invested in developing an observational teacher report measure of children's knowledge and skills at kindergarten entry, which is the Pennsylvania Kindergarten Entry Inventory, and I'll also refer to that as the KEI throughout my session. The KEI was designed to be part of a comprehensive prenatal to third grade initiative as a resource to create a common language around children's development and instructional supports across early childhood teachers and caregivers, elementary school teachers, school and program leaders, and family. The primary purpose of the KEI is to provide scientifically valid information for kindergarten teachers to better understand children's competencies at kindergarten entry so that they could actually tailor their curriculum and instruction to meet individual children's needs. The KEI data are intended to provide teachers with a vehicle through which they can have conversations with one another as well as with families to support children's learning. A secondary purpose of these data is to provide state, district, and school leaders with an evidence-supported descriptive snapshot of children's competencies to contribute to the whole picture of early childhood. This snapshot can provide Pennsylvania policymakers with an average score for all children measured by the KEI and school district leaders with an average score for all children within their actual district. So Pennsylvania, for sustainability purposes, decided to develop its own tool in an effort of cost savings long term. We understood the licensing fees that were involved in prepackaged assessment tools such as a Teaching Strategies Gold or a Pearson's Work Sampling System through past outcomes reporting efforts within our state. Our KEI is being sustained at a very minimal cost, approximately about $300,000 per year to maintain and enhance the data system as well as the help desk. We have found that more local education agencies or school districts are using the tool as it's available to them at no cost, and that also includes our professional development protocol. And being developed in-house, it is directly connected to our state-level staff, myself included, who provide professional development and technical assistance at no cost. So that's another benefit for implementing programs. The KEI was developed over a 5-year period, which actually began in the year 2010 by our office in collaboration with kindergarten teachers, preschool education personnel, etc. The work focused on creating a progression of skill levels for selected indicators of children's competencies that were actually aligned to the Commonwealth's pre-kindergarten learning standards for early childhood. So through this thoughtful and iterative process of co-construction, the KEI was established as a set of 30 standards-based indicators designed to measure children's knowledge and skills across 5 different domains of learning, and those would be language and literacy, math, social and emotional development, approaches to learning through play, and health, wellness, and physical development. To administer the KEI, teachers observe children as they engage in a variety of classroom activities during the first 45 calendar days of the school year. And then they score children on each of these indicators using a scoring rubric with 4 different rating levels. We have not yet evident, emerging, evident, and exceeds. So we always do, when we provide training, we do also share what the KEI is not intended to be used for, as it's imperative to understand the intended purpose of any assessment. So it is not a screening tool. It is completed during the first 45 calendar days of the school year. It's not designed to be completed prior to the start of school. Therefore, the KEI should never be used to deny or exclude any child access into kindergarten. It's not a diagnostic tool, and therefore it can't be used to place a student into a program, a class, or special education. And it's not designed to replace any existing assessments that have been designed for a specific purpose, such as a screener or a diagnostic. It is important to note, though, however, that some of the assessments that schools are currently using, such as a DIBELS or an Ames Web in math, they can actually use some of that information and it can inform some of the indicators on the KEI. And lastly, the KEI is not in any way, shape, or form designed to be in a high-stakes assessment of comparison among early childhood programs, nor used for teacher evaluation or any sort of high-stakes assessments on students. So it's important for kindergarten teachers and school district administrators to recognize that time and the availability of resources are invaluable to the implementation of an observation-based assessment such as our KEI. While some of the indicators, as I mentioned, are informed by other assessments, the remaining are really informed by observation. And Pennsylvania has found that teachers find this to be initially challenging, especially in the domains of approaches to learning and social and emotional development. We do direct teachers not to change their typical instructional practices regarding implementation of this tool. And we have heard in regards to time from implementing teachers that it takes approximately 10 to 15 minutes per child to enter the skill level determinations into the data system, which is really the biggest complaint from teachers in that it does take time away from their instruction. So to remedy this, many of the schools that we've worked with have been successful in workarounds, like providing a half day of a professional development day for data entry, or perhaps dedicating someone within administration to help with the data entry. Time is also needed to complete the professional development protocol, and we do require that all kindergarten teachers who have not previously participated, they do have to go through this professional development course. At the end, they obtain a certificate of completion or proficiency, and that is actually valid for 5 years. So they can actually go through professional development through an asynchronous route where they actually take the course online, or they can contact our office and then we actually go and we'll provide a face-to-face session with them, which is generally what we recommend. In regards to resources, the very first link that you see on this current screen, this is really our landing page for the KEI, and on this page we actually have a resource section which includes a lot of different valuable resources for administrators, families, also evidence collection resources for implementing teachers. Some of the evidence collection materials that have been provided to us have actually come from implementing teachers. So they've developed resources that have made the evidence collection process a bit easier, and we certainly want to share these important tools with all of the implementing teachers. Also on this site, you're going to find information on our professional development protocol, and there's also a link to our data entry, which once the teachers complete proficiency, they can then access the data website. The bottom web link that you see is our research page, and here you'll find information for all of our pilot years as well as cohort summary reports for the last couple of years. So trying to move pretty quickly, we went through a very vigorous validation study through Race to the Top Early Learning Challenge funds. This work took place from 2015 to 2017. And through the years that we went through this, state-of-the-art analysis provided evidence for 2 dimensions of child competency that can be applied to all groups of kindergarten children. And those were emerging academic competencies and learning engagement competencies. As you might imagine, the emerging academic competencies measures early literacy and math, and then the learning engagement competencies measure children engagement in the learning process, such as social and emotional development, behavior regulation, etc. Findings from the study really pointed to 3 evidence-supported uses of the KEI. Teachers can use the scores on these dimensions to inform instruction for all children at kindergarten entry. They can also use ratings on the individual PA indicators from the 2 dimensions to inform instruction for all children. Policymakers, school district leaders, and principals in the Commonwealth can use average scores at the state, district, or school level on these 2 dimensions across all children that were rated on the KEI. And this would provide a descriptive snapshot of children's competencies on those dimensions upon entering kindergarten. So lastly, just talking about sustainability, Pennsylvania recommends to states who are exploring investing in a KEI type of tool to really, what we want you to know is why you're doing this. What is your purpose? And really communicate that loudly, because we have found that others will want to use the information for other purposes. In addition, do it right with integrity. It was really important for us to conduct the rigorous validation study we did. We certainly were a bit nervous about the results that we may find, but we were resolved to deal with what the study said about the tool. We are committed to best practice in connecting early learning programs to our LEAs, and this tool has been really our gateway in doing so. So lastly, it's been a tangible tool that has helped to get intangible work done. It's afforded us the opportunity to create these really great relationships with our local education agencies. Going in and providing face-to-face training has allowed us to talk about a host of different things, such as developmentally appropriate practice, the power of playful learning opportunities, social and emotional development, and just things that we really would not have had an opportunity otherwise to discuss. Two lessons that we learned were really putting forth more concerted effort about how to use the data with teachers, and also changing the mindsets regarding assessment, getting away from accountability to more of a continuous quality improvement. And then for those of you, after we go through the question and answer session today, if you have any additional questions, this is a resource account that you can send any additional questions to for Pennsylvania. We check this daily and be happy to get back to you. Thank you so much for allowing me to speak today.
Thank you, Marianne. Thank you for being part of this. We'll now move on to Serene Yee from the state of California. California has one of the longest longevities, I think, on this topic of early learning inventories. So Serene, I'm going to pass it off to you.
Thank you. Can you hear me okay? You just want to make sure if you can hear us okay.
Yeah, we can hear you. Can you move just a little closer to your speaker?
Yes. Is this close enough? Hopefully,
yeah,
yes.
That's a little better. Thank you.
Great. Okay. Good afternoon. My name is Serene Yee, and I work for the California Department of Education. I'm joined by my colleague, Carrie Kriener-Alton from Wested Center for Child and Family Studies. Today we'll be sharing our tool, the Desired Results Developmental Profile Kindergarten, or we refer to it as the DRDP-K 2015. So this tool was developed for California by the California Department of Education in collaboration with child development experts from Wested and psychomotricians at UC Berkeley. It's a comprehensive formative assessment that includes domains such as social, emotional, and self-regulation, as well as math, language, and literacy, as well as physical development. All domains are assessed in the same way and on the same scale, with validity for all children. California is a local controlled state, which means that schools, districts can choose the DRDP-K. It also is used in other states, either for a statewide picture or for kindergarten readiness as a menu option. California has been developing DRDP instruments since 1999. In 2012, we developed the DRDP-SR, which was a predecessor to the DRDP-K 2015, which is what is currently available to the field. The DRDP-K makes a very clear alignment with the preschool assessment that we use, which is the DRDP-PS or preschool. We have an online data system where teachers enter ratings for each child. Ratings are the developmental level that the child has reached at that time. As a KEA, teachers complete it within the first 6 to 8 weeks of school starting. It can also be used again in the middle and end, or at the end of the year, for a pre, post, or pre, mid, and post assessment. So why selected the DRDP-K, stakeholders requested it here in California. Also because we decided to extend our existing DRDP infant, toddler, and preschool continuum to ensure formative, comprehensive, continuous standards aligned, reliable, and valid assessment instrument for kindergarten. The DRDP-K supports developmentally appropriate learning and reflects development from child development research. It's a formative tool that supports teacher practice and informed curriculum. It was developed using rigorous psychometric standards and is reliable and valid. So one of our examples is a school district here called Tulare. They had 10 TK classrooms and 40 kindergarten classrooms that use the DRDP-K. They began with using the preschool assessment, and the administration there saw the value in terms of children's preparedness for kindergarten. As a result, they ramped up implementation for kindergarten, organizing their professional development for teachers around learning the DRDP-K and providing targeted coaching to their teachers to support using the assessment to plan curriculum. Their first grade teachers reported that children are better prepared coming into first grade, and that it supports communication with parents and teachers at conferences, in which specifically parents can work that parents can do at home to support the children's development in all areas of learning. So there are 3 key activities for teachers to complete the assessment. I'm so sorry, I skipped one slide. Educator training and preparation. In California, training and professional development are available. We have state-sponsored online modules that are free to teachers. We also, for our guidelines, suggest that before they come to in-person training that they complete the modules online. They have state-sponsored online radar certification that is also free to teachers. So we built this because we were hoping to build consistency among teachers when using the tool, which would lead to the collection of more reliable data. Within the radar certification, we have child portfolios, and those portfolios include children with special needs as well as English language learners. So when a teacher passes the radar certification, they've looked at different children in different settings. There are 3 key activities for teachers to complete the assessment: observation and documentation, rate the DRDP-K ratings, and enter the ratings into our online system. So this will be difficult for you to see, and we apologize for that, but we have a sample of 2 of the reports that come with our DRDP Tech, which is our online data system. The one to the top right says Group Development Report this year. On the top bar, that's our continuum. You can see that there are 3 rating periods for this group. It begins with the earliest, the latest one, which is spring, and then it goes winter, and then fall. So if you look at the black line, the black vertical line, you can see the progression that when they first began, 42% of this group fell into what we consider building middle, and in the winter, the majority of the group moved to building later, and in the spring, they moved to integrating middle, which is even further down the continuum. In the parent report, this is a child from that same district, and we see that the child was rated twice. There's a fall rating and a spring rating, spring being on top because it was the latest one. The vertical line shows most likely the place where the child was rated, and the horizontal line shows the range where we are most of true level of development lies. The bottom box contains pre-populated statements that are tied to the developmental level where the child is rated, and also provides a statement for parents about what they can do to support children's learning at home. For example, this one says, at the building later level, your child is learning how to go work through challenges independently and use purposeful strategies to explore new things and manage feelings. You can support the learning and development by providing daily opportunities for your child to feel independent, such as with household tasks like gardening, setting the table, or cooking a meal. And so it goes on with that. Communication with stakeholders. So in California, you can take a look at our communication ways that we communicate. We have our website, we have conferences in districts, we have presentations, and we also have a letter from the state superintendent. In Illinois, which is one of the states that also uses the DRDPK, you see that they have a superintendent's monthly letter, presentations, regional presentations, and regional coaching. Issues and concerns. So we hear this a lot that the DRDPK can be time-consuming for teachers to complete, but this is the same with all tools that are introduced, in that it becomes less time-consuming as teachers learn how to integrate documentation of what they see, their observations, in their instructional practice. Currently, we're working on streamlining our online data system, working on a new interface, and linking our ratings from our Portfolio app, which is available on phones and tablets, to link with our DRDP Tech data system. If you would like to learn more about cost, you can go to our website. The California Department of Education does pay for the cost of public kindergarten classes that are here. And advice for other states. We've realized that there are challenges with menu options, so it's difficult to conduct aggregate state data analysis when different instruments have been used to collect that data. It's difficult to track individual child's progress if they move from a different school or a district that uses a different assessment, and teachers may need new training when they move to a new district or a school that uses a different assessment. Flexibility built into the assessment. Different views of the instrument are available with varying numbers of domains or measures to tailor each of the state's needs, and that was in one of the prior slides. Multi-dimensional IRTs that underlies the DRDPK enables accurate quantitative domain ratings and qualitative measure ratings. And it also, there's tracking developmental progress for individual children and groups of children, which is useful to inform teaching and curriculum instruction. Thank you.
Thank you.